Welcome to July 5th newspaper edition. Topics that we are going to cover today. So we'll try to understand about the Nipah virus. We'll try to understand something related to the diaspora and what is this overseas citizenship of India and Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. So we'll try to understand about these aspects. Then, like I always do, I went into the business standard and have picked up some of the articles on the business standard. See, economy, students unnecessarily they get afraid of the or get scared of economy. But trust me, of entire UPSC, economy is the easiest area. So the reason why I am picking up the articles from the business standard is when you see the application part, when you see how the things, economy is running, things become very easy for you. See, so that's why I have picked up this thing. Liquidity adjustment facility. We are doing these things repeatedly, and also trust me, the questions comes from here. Every year they are asking 1 or 2 questions. When you understand the news, what is happening, you will be in a better position to solve the question. So I have picked up articles. Yesterday I have asked you question from the Forex results, but some of you have not answered. So that's why again I picked up article from this. We have done so many times what is the repo rate, reverse repo rate. We have done this thing. So again I am picking up the article from this liquidity adjustment facility. And then disaster, we have done content on the disaster. So again I have picked up the content from the disaster. If you see the newspaper things that are recurring, the areas, the current affairs are limited. Most of the things you need to understand the analysis point of view. While the bigger aspects, they keep on repeating. There would be somewhere around 500 topics that keeps recurring every time. So once you get proper command over those 500 topics, your current affairs is just a cakewalk. Okay. So we have to prepare in that manner. And then again we will try to understand about the WTO, why it is in the news, because we are going to make a deal with the USA. USA has announced heavy tariffs on India. Heavy tariffs on India with, as well as other countries, but the tariffs got paused. Meanwhile, we want to make a deal so that it is mutually beneficial for the India and the USA, and USA stops those retaliatory tariffs. So before we conclude the deal, so we are also using our own tactics. We are saying we will reimpose the tax if the USA does not reduce the tax on us. So these things are going on. Okay, so we will try to understand about these aspects. Then I have taken one of the article from the editorial so that to discuss with you what you understand by the concept of democracy. We are focusing on the fundamental aspects. So if you are consistent with the class, if you can revise the class well, definitely your basics and current affairs will be very clear. For me, it is more than you, it is more important for me to get the ranks. So I am as serious as you people to make you clear this exam. So in the same way, everything from the institution, whatever, our collective efforts is to make sure that you get benefited a lot. So we are doing our best, and I expect the same thing from the people who are watching the lectures. Just watch the classes with a proper dedication and revise the content in a regular manner. If any doubts, again, whoever is the available mentor and all, you can ask them. Okay, just stay to the system and revise things. So we have discussed so many things. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we will be discussing this thing. So India has notified the WTO of its intention to levy the retaliatory tariffs worth approximately $724 million on the US import. The decision comes in response to the US increasing tariffs by 25% ad valorem on certain automobiles and parts imported from the India. Ad valorem means there is a kind of tax on the value. See, if I have imposed 10% tax on this mobile phone, for suppose this is 100 rupees, let's assume, then it becomes 10 rupees. Now the mobile phone cost has become 1000 rupees. Again, with the price, the tax also will increase. Okay, so it will become 100 rupees. Okay, so that is called as a ad valorem tax. Okay, the final taxation, the value is not constant. I have just fixed it to the overall price. The price is 100 rupees, 10%. If the price is 1000 rupees, then on the 10%. I have not fixed just 5 rupees tax, anything like that. Okay, fix it to the value. Okay, so we are saying we are going to increase the taxation value on this. So what is the context on the April 1st day, which USA has called as a liberation day? USA has imposed taxation on various countries, heavy taxation on the various countries. But USA has paused this taxation on all the countries, and it has said Okay, for a time period, we will stop the taxation on the other countries, but we will make a deal with these countries. So in this process, USA is going on and making the deals with all the countries. India is yet to make the deal. So meanwhile, we are also saying if you don't reduce the tax, we are also going to impose retaliatory tax. So this context is clear for you. We are discussing this thing from long back, right? Context is clear. Now we are saying this thing. We will impose a retaliatory tax on the USA in the WTO. Why are we discussing this thing in the WTO? Because WTO is the organization which ensures free trade. We have discussed this thing. What is WTO? World Trade Organization, which tries to establish a kind of free trade without any restrictions. If I ask you anything, you should be having clarity about the basic main essence of it. So WTO, when I say this thing, it is an international organization which comes into the play in order to establish free trade, liberal regime between different countries without any kind of restrictions. This is the purpose of the WTO. Clear? This has come into the picture after dissolution of the GATS agreement. So previously used to have in the 1944 Bretton Woods conference, we have discussed three major institutions have come into the place after the World War II. What were those? Little bit, at least one organization. After 1944, World War II and the Bretton Woods conference, they came together and they have come up with the two major institutions and one agreement. What are those? IMF and the similar one, which is the most Western and USA dominant, World Bank. IMF and the World Bank is for the provision of the reconstruction and the redevelopment by providing the loans. IMF main purpose? To provide not funds. You have to say clearly that what I want to see. Monetary funds. You can say what is the purpose of the RBI? RBI, what is the? To maintain the liquidity. Okay. So in the same way, IMF is also to maintain the liquidity, checking the BOP crisis. I have told you multiple times. IMF takes care of the balance of payment crisis. But than that, the most important word that you have to say is liquidity management of the world. Just like RBI does in the India, in the world, IMF does the liquidity management. Do not forget, I'll ask again. World Bank is for the provision of, what is the purpose of the World Bank? Provision of the loans for the development. Bank, why do they provide? What is the purpose of the banks? They provide the loans for the purpose of the development. IMF? Liquidity management. At least these one point should have come from you. Okay. So, and all these are the outcome of the Bretton Woods conference, which has happened post World War II to establish a kind of redevelopment in the globe. And another third major agreement is a GATT agreement. General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. These are the three agreements. As per the GATT, this is also same thing, a kind of precursor to the WTO. They want to bring the liberal economy without any kind of restrictions. Should not forget again, okay? What are the three institutions? Okay. Like this, you maintain a note. Okay, W Bank, World Bank, WTO. At that time, it was not WTO, it was a GATT. And then you have the IMF. One line, at least with one line, you should be having the clarity. Three institutions post World War. Post World War II. Clear? Must not forget again. Then, currently we are discussing about this aspect. This GATT, after 1994, finally it evolved into the WTO. This was only agreement initially. Trade and tariff based agreement. There was no institutional structure. So, after various talks based on the Marrakesh Treaty, then it has become the WTO. So, what are the principles of the WTO? So, we have repeated this thing so many times. I want you to at least have that basic clarity so that you will be able to utilize this content later on when you study the static part and the current affairs part. Please try to revise those things again and again. So, what is the main principles of the WTO? See here, there would be proper safety, reciprocity and non-discrimination. So, that basic principle is trade without any kind of restrictions. In a simple line, trade, free trade without any restrictions. And what should be the principle? So if India is trading with the USA, China is trading with the USA, South America is trading with the USA, there should not be any kind of discrimination, non-discrimination. Okay, and there should be reciprocity, mutual reciprocity of the benefits. The same thing. Now USA is imposing tax on us, so we will also impose a retaliatory tax. This is called Agreement of Safeguards. Provides guidelines for the country to implement the safeguards. Now India is saying, because of this thing, we are going to retaliate. We are going to implement those taxation. Okay, there should be transparency and there should be safety valves. Okay. So we have also discussed the exceptions. I have told you 3 exceptions in the WTO. Generally, you should not impose a tax, but there are 3 cases where you can provide the exception. What are those 3? In cases of export subsidy, in cases of dumping, you have the anti-dumping duty. During the cases of export subsidy, you have the countervailing duty. And then, okay, this way, agreement on the agreement on safeguards. Okay, you have some special protection can be taken care in order to protect your domestic industries. Clear? Don't forget again. Okay, so it will be easy for you to understand the current affairs if you can remember this thing. So just like those agreements, these are the other agreements that are present in the WTO. Just go through once. How do we liberalize trade in the other areas? Agriculture, service sector, investment. So just one line I have given it. Just go through it. Later on, when you study in the static classes about the WTO, in the economy classes, you will get more clarity. But meanwhile, have this thing. And this is an institution. So whenever there is an institution, whenever you get into the disputes, there will be a kind of dispute settlement. So whoever is the members are there, WTO members 196 I guess, okay, those members will sit and discuss. Okay, that is called the dispute settlement mechanism. From those dispute settlement mechanism, if still there is a issue, then it will reach us to the appellate. Okay, then it reaches to the appellate body, but currently this body is non-functional because the members, whatever the judicial members, the required count that is required, it is not there. Okay, we have discussed that other day. That's the basic information that we need to understand, remember and revise again and again. Okay. Next, landslides are happening in the Himachal Pradesh and also in the Uttarakhand, all those areas. See here. Okay, I will tell you. Okay, if you can see here. So landslides are the mass movements. It is a type of the mass movement. We have discussed this thing previously also. Heavy material is moving down the slope. Very good. In simple one line, heavy movement of material down the slope under the influence of gravity. This is the line that you have to remember. So what are the 2 main factors that influence the landslides? Gravity means sloping factor and another thing is the water. These are the 2 major reasons. Water, okay, something I have missed here, okay, it should be the sloping factor. Okay, the first point should be the sloping factor and next factor should be the water. Okay, these are the 2 major reasons. So landslides are happening everywhere in India, especially in the hilly areas. Okay, see, Himalayan region, Western Ghats and the northeastern states, these are primarily affected by the landslides. Okay. Now, these landslides come under the broader classification of the mass movement. Mass movement means heavier elements of the material moving downslope. Mass movement. Now, they can also move slowly. That is called creep. This is there in your NCERT. What is that? Fundamentals of Physical Geography. Okay, 11th class NCERT. Once go through those things, that classification they have given. So landslide, slow movement. It is called creep. Okay, slides, flows, falls. They will also classify based on the speed. Different types of the classifications are there. You can understand it this way. See here, slide means sudden rapid movement. Flows means fluid-like movement. Fall means it is like from here falling. Okay, so this is like suddenly you are falling. That is called fall, free fall, where the slope is almost 90 degrees. If the slope is like this, slowly things are moving. This is called creeping. Slowly, very, you will not be able to notice. Okay, after 1 week when you come, the pole is like this. Initially it was like this, any electricity pole, later on it has turned like this. This is called slow movement, creeping. Little faster, sliding, flows, moving with the fluid-like movement, falls. Okay, here I am going slightly faster because this is not a static area. I wanted to give. Later on when you study the concepts of static concept, geography, economy, there you will understand in a proper manner. Here, understand the only main essence. Okay, main essence, after going back home, try to revise. If you can catch it, since we are revising it multiple times, if you can catch those things, it would be very good. Okay, try to revise. Okay, so factors, the major factor is for any landslide or mass movement to happen, slope. See, now there is a landslide. From here, the material is falling down the slope. So how much is the slope? If the slope is very steep, the possibility of landslides are very high. So now slope is like this. Now you are adding water to this. Rainfalls are happening. So the two prime reasons, if I ask you later, so you will say slope and the water. These are the most two important reasons. Added to that, now you are shaking the earth surface with means of earthquakes. You are constructing the roads, changing the topography there. You are doing mining activities, or any volcanism is happening there. So all these things can trigger the landslides. And also later on you will study in your geomorphology, plate tectonics. When there is a movement of the plates, tectonics means in one line movement. Okay, when there is such a movement, this can also trigger the landslides. So NDMA has given certain guidelines. First you do the zonation, like we have done Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Northeast India, and your Himalayan areas. These are the areas that are probable for the landslides. So zoning is done. Accordingly, you take the measures. So you do the vegetation. You make a planning such that below this or at the foothills of these mountains, there are no settlements. You evacuate them. So accordingly, you do the planning, land use planning. That's it. That is a major thing you have to do. Now here, Kerala is saying funds have not been released. Understand this thing. Very, very important again. There are two types of the funds. Understand. Very important one. Very few people have the clarity on these things. Okay, all these things are taught in the basic conventional current affairs. I am teaching everything even here. Okay, so that whoever is watching, even with the YouTube, they can manage their current affairs if the person is consistent. See here, National Disaster Response Fund and the State Disaster Response Fund. So some disaster has happened, responding, immediate relief comes from the NDRF or the SDRF. So if the calamity is bigger level, funds come from the NDRF. If the calamity is the state level, funds come from the SDRF. Contribution in the NDRF by the central government, contribution in the SDRF by both the state and the central government. Okay, sometimes the calamity might be very higher, so they want funds also from the NDRF. But central government says, no, that is not a national level calamity. Always there will be kind of conflict. States will say, no, this is a bigger calamity, you have to contribute. Central say, no. Okay. So this way, this is called National Disaster Response Fund and the State Disaster Response Fund. Okay. So Finance Commission will give the recommendation how much funds has to be allotted for the NDRF and the SDRF for every once in 5 years. Finance Commission is a statutory or constitutional body. Such a huge body which is talking about funds distribution between the center and the states and between the states. So it should be constitutional body, and article is 280. Article 280 talks about Finance Commission. It is not a permanent body. Next time, when I say Finance Commission, constitutional body, article 280, non-permanent. So once in 5 years, it is established and it will go. Should not forget these 3 points. And apart from this, we also have the other funds like National Disaster Response Mitigation Fund and the State Disaster Response Mitigation. State Disaster Mitigation. Mitigation means you are making sure in the long term the impacts of the disaster is coming down. So maybe retrofitting of the buildings or afforestation. So you are making sure the disaster itself do not happen. That is called the mitigation. For that also the funds has to be allotted, but however it is non-operational. So we have the National Disaster Response Fund in operation, but National Disaster Mitigation Fund and the State Disaster Mitigation Fund is non-operational. Okay. So this is what I have given: disaster classification, central government, additional funds from the NDRF when it is declared as a national calamity. Clear so far? CGI said we will make sure collegium is a transparent. How many times we have discussed the collegium system? Right? We have discussed so many systems. It is a mechanism created by the judges, judiciary, to appoint whom? Judges of which court? And High Court. Supreme Court and High Court. So this is a mechanism created. Is it mentioned in the Constitution? No. It was evolved through various Supreme Court judges. First judge's case, second judge's case and third judge's case. Initial case, so what is mentioned in the Constitution? The judges will be appointed by the president in consultation with the CJI. Consultation means just, bro, we are going to appoint. Okay, this is called consultation. Okay, this is what said in the first judgment. In the second judge's case, they said consultation means it should be binding, not just, bro, we are appointing. Okay, I should say yes. Only then it is accepted. So in the second judge's case, it was made binding. The president cannot appoint any person as a judge. Okay, whatever the CJI says, consultation of the CJI is binding. In the second judge's case. In the third judge's case, they have given proper structure of the collegium. 1 CJI plus 4 judges, Supreme Court judges. Okay, this is called the collegium. This takes care of the appointment of the both High Court and the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, it is 2 judges. Okay, so this is what it is mentioned here. So now here only judges are appointing the judges. So in order to break this thing, this is a complete concentration of the power in the judiciary. But in a democracy, we need checks and balances, separation of the power. That's why we have passed on NJAC, National Judicial Appointments Commission. But in this NJAC, the primacy is given to the government, where there would be a committee system, but law minister will be taking care. Not law minister will not be taking care, but because of the addition of the law minister, the power has gone from the judiciary towards the executive. That's why Supreme Court has said this is a null and void. It is a kind of violation of the autonomy of the judiciary. That's it. So still the collegium system is going on. And criticism of the collegium system. So now I am the one who is going to appoint. Okay, so you all have given me your applications. Okay, so now I am not telling you on what basis I have chosen one, on what basis I have rejected one. So I can pick anyone based on my whims and fancies. Okay, so she is attending class every day, sitting in the front. So I'll be appointing her. Okay, so based on my subjectivity, then he will say, "Arey sir, I am also attending classes every day, but why have not given me the appointment?" So I'll say, I don't have to answer. So there is lack of transparency. There is no criteria. You have seen there is no currently woman judge. So I'm the one, the male chauvinist, okay, without any kind of gender equality, respecting those things. So I may not select the woman. So if the power is concentrated in the without any kind of checks and balances, these things can happen. Currently, we do not see any women CJ. So far we do not have any kind of CJ. Don't you think that India would have had a very good intellectual women? It could have happened, but appointment has not happened. So that's why there needs to be a change in this process. So that's why government judicial system said we will make the changes. Okay, so we will bring transparency. So clear, you got clarity. So collegium system, lack of transparency, accountability, no formal structure. So far we have mentioned various things about the judiciary. Okay, we have discussed judiciary is not functioning in a proper accountable manner. What are the things so far we have discussed? This is one thing about the collegium systems. We have also discussed in the previous lectures various things about the judiciary. Tell me 2 instances at least. Apart from the appointment, what are the, based on which judiciary is in the news? Impeachment. The right word is removal. Removal of the judges. So there is this thing, and another thing, the same thing. Okay, corruption, lack of accountability. Those things are in the news. The main thing is in-house investigation process, in-house inquiry process. So if anything goes wrong in the judiciary, okay, we can't do anything. They will appoint the committee. Okay, now see I have problem against this 4. Now this 4 will say we will decide whether you have problem or not. Okay, so they will appoint a committee within those 4 members, and they will say no, you don't have any problem. Okay, what is this? Okay, so there should be proper checks and balances. That is not there. So this is a point that you have to remember. So question they will not ask, okay, they may ask collegium issues, but they will ask broadly what are the issues in the overall judiciary. So you should be able to say accountability issues. So this question may come, transparency, accountability issues is plaguing the judiciary. What can be done? So then you will talk about these things. There is no accountability. The in-house mechanisms are being utilized. Okay, there are allegations of the corruptions. Removal is very difficult. Conduct of the judge cannot be discussed. Only when the process of removal, the motion is initiated, only then we can discuss. So are these not the problems that has to be reformed? With these things, we have also seen the number of judges to population ratio is very, very less in India. I have given the data also. I think it is 15. In the USA, it is 100 per million. There are only less number of population. So what is this? With this, the vacancies are very high. 40% of the judges in the High Court positions are vacant. So with this, there are various cases. 40% of the cases, they are pending for more than 2-3 years. If I have some issue with any person, I visit the court. Okay, so if the case is not getting resolved even after 2 or 3 years, so I'll take law in my own hands, like it is shown in the movies. Okay, not relying on the police judiciary. So these things has to be reformed. If I have to invest in India, if I get any problem, judiciary should be able to solve it. If it is not able to solve my problem, so I will say, if some issue happens, if I visit court, it will take years. Okay, so then I will not be interested in doing the business. I will not be interested in the contracts. Right? So all these are the problems. Have you got the big picture? Why the judiciary is important? Such a major organ. Clear? Okay. So this is the important thing. See here, now in this article, the most important they are saying safeguard the democracy. Democracy is a system of government where power is vested in the people. You guys are the powerful, not the government. So if that is true, what should be the functional thing? Okay, there should be separation of the power. There should be rule of law. Rule of law means it means there is no arbitrariness and there is a freedom of civil liberties. Okay, rule of law means you need to include these two components. Later I'll ask you again. See, remember this thing again. So, rule of law means no arbitrariness Second point, what did he say? Civil liberties. Checks and balances. So when I say there is rule of law, it means all three are there. So again, this is the level of conceptual clarity that you should gain. Okay, when we say certain things, these are the three components that is included. They can ask you a question. What do you mean by the rule of law? So rule of law means a basic concept of the democracy. This includes three components. No arbitrariness means, so okay, if I violate the law, you violate the law, he violates the law, she violates the law, same law is applicable. And you all have the civil liberties, means freedom of press is there, civil societies can function, NGOs can function. If government does any wrong, so you have the right to question. It is a freedom given to you. And there are checks and balances. No organ, three organs of the government, not three organs that are present in the constitution as per the constitution. Executive, legislative, judiciary. None is powerful. Checks and balances. This is called rule of law. So if all these three are maintained, rule of law is maintained, then that is called rule of law. Clear? Are you able to follow? Is it becoming heavy? Every day I am trying to build. Okay? Okay, so it is not heavy, right? Now see, we have discussed the liquidity is rising. 2 days back, what is the auction RBI has conducted? 2 days back, we have discussed an article where we have mentioned RBI is conducting auction because there is more liquidity in the market. We have discussed this thing. More money is present with the banks. Because of this thing, the interest rates were falling down. Whatever the interest rate that is charged by the RBI, that is called which rate? The interest charged by RBI over the banks for borrowing from the RBI, that is called repo rate. Okay, this is the base rate that is considered. But while banks, when they are borrowing from each other for the overnight liquidity, the interest rate is lower than the RBI's interest rate. So this indicates there is so much of the money in the market. So RBI has conducted variable reverse repo rate auction, VRR, VRRR. We have discussed this thing, auctioning of this thing. Okay. So what it says, basically simply, you can park money with us. If you have the excess money, you can park money with us, and we will provide you the interest rate. But it will be based on auction. So all of you have come to me to park your excess money, but whoever quotes lesser interest rate, I will give it to them. So much of money has come to the RBI in this format. So that indicates all of you are the banks, you have lot of money with you. You have lot of money with you being a bank, that means whoever the customer is there, public is there, they are not borrowing money from you. Why they are not borrowing money from you? Because market is uncertain, no demand, they don't want to do any business, they don't want to do consumption. So it is indicating poor state of economy or excess money more than required with the people. So RBI is looking to change that thing. So this process is called liquidity adjustment facility. Just now we have discussed the role of the RBI or the IMF is to maintain the liquidity. So if the liquidity is more or if the liquidity is less, RBI will accordingly inject money or suck the money. That is called liquidity adjustment facility. Clear? Understand what is the liquidity adjustment facility? So RBI is managing the liquidity, adjusting the liquidity. Surplus, it will take away some money. Less, it will release some money. Okay. So for that RBI has the tools: repo, reverse repo, variable rate reverse repo. And also there is another tool called standing deposit facility. So this was introduced during the Corona time period where government has given excess spending. Okay, so people had excess money. So in those cases, it was a time where RBI has introduced this tool. So it said to the banks, you can park excess money with us and you do not need collateral. In all the above three tools, you need the collateral in order to park the money. Collateral is generally banks will hold the government securities. They purchase the government securities that will be used as a collateral. Now, I do not have the enough collateral, but I have enough money. In order to resolve this issue, RBI has introduced SDFs, liquidity adjustment facility. So, like I say again, I am sure when the static classes start, you will feel very easy. All these things you will feel majority of your IR, security, science and technology, economy, infrastructure, you will feel very, very comfortable after attending these lectures because these are the major things that are there in this thing. So that's why where it is more important and exam relevant, I am spending more time. Okay. See here forex reserves, they are increasing. So how much yesterday I have asked forex reserves? How many dollars yesterday? 650. So it has mentioned in the news because it is $700 billion. Okay. So what are the components of the forex? This balance sheet we have discussed. How do we acquire this forex reserves? When you export more or when the foreigners invest in your country, we are getting the dollar. More than import, you are either exporting or more investment of dollar. Understand in the simple applicable manner. So I am trying to teach you things in a language that you can understand. If I go into technical, current account, capital account, if I say, okay, this way, then you may get confused. If I explain you this way, simple thing, dollar is coming in terms of the investment or you have exported more. So you got the surplus. Okay, this also tells you about what is your current command of economy. So based on our discussion, you can guess, which country might be having highest amount of forex reserves? Anyone others? Which country would have? Okay, I'll give you the options. Okay, I'll give you the options. Guess country that could be having highest forex reserves. First USA, second Russia, third China, fourth India. How can be Russia? It is struggling. It is nowhere in the top 10 also, I think, in the economy wise. Yeah? It is China. Even more than the USA, China holds dollars more. That's why even USA is afraid of China. So now China releases all this dollar in the market. It can cause fluctuations in the US's monetary policy also. So China holds 3,000. We have only 700 billion. Okay, they hold 3,000. Okay, so China can release the dollar and it can cause instability in the dollar also. China is the one who holds because they have very huge amount of the industrial power. Manufacturing, they have exported a lot. That's why they are ruling the world by providing the loans. They will go to Africa. Okay, look bro, we'll provide you money. They'll visit Nepal. They'll visit Bangladesh. They'll go to Pakistan and say, do irritate India, we will provide you money. Do this thing to India, we'll provide you money. We have 3,000, $3 trillion. Exporting. Even we can do more export. That's our purpose. Currently, our exports stand at somewhere around $900 billion, something like that. Overall, goods and services. You export more, get more and more and more dollar. If the more investment is happening in your country, you will be receiving dollars. So more than USA, the countries, whoever is the country that is holding the dollar is China. Okay, clear? Learning concepts, enjoying these current affair classes because you are gaining knowledge. Okay, so this was in the PIB. Saksham 3000. Okay, it is about a kind of router. Router is a function which basically helps in transfer of the data. Okay, better transfer of the data. Okay, bytes, information transfer and better internet connectivity. Clear so far? Are you guys following? See here, custodial violence. This is very unfortunate in India. Custodial violence. Okay, so if you can see here, there are more number of cases of custodial deaths because police will arrest you. There is no monitoring. Okay, so anything can happen. If you can see here, from 2016 to 2021, 11,000 deaths happened in this 6-7 years time period, and no single conviction. If death is happening because of the misuse of power by the police, they should be held liable. They should be made guilty, but no conviction so far. This is the problem. So police, they are arresting the person under the preventive law of detention, okay, with suspecting a criminal with a clause of suspicion. They will arrest. They will do all forms of violence and torture, and finally there will be death. So, and these kind of deaths are more is happening with the scheduled caste, especially in the UP region and the Tamil Nadu regions. These issues are growing. So, there are two factors. One thing is lack of accountability, and a kind of caste discrimination is also because 35% is more with the scheduled caste. It is not that there are no judgments here. See here. Okay, so constitutionally there are, your article 21 says life, you have right to life. It cannot be restricted. And article 20 says prohibits retrospective prohibition, punishment, and protects against the self-incrimination. You cannot be, okay, if you are accused, okay, you cannot justify your own wrong. Okay, you cannot be saying, okay, yes, I was the one who committed. Okay, you cannot do that self-incrimination. If the police tortures you and takes your whatever you have said, okay, that is not valid as per the constitution. So you are not supposed to do that kind of violence. If I beat you, okay, yes, you will say, yes, I have committed that murder. Okay, so that is what is happening. Case closed. That should not happen. So they should do the investigation. Investigation procedures has to be upgraded. This is not the way. Anyone, you can catch anyone and you can make them do anyone, right? So unfortunately, so these provisions you have to remember by heart. They may ask custodial violence in India. So these are the legal provisions that are there to prevent such kind of custodial violence, but somehow they are violating those things. So you should be very clear what are those provisions. See here, challenges, lack of specific legislation. India has not signed UN Convention Against the Torture. This may be asked in the prelims. We have not signed. So only 3 conventions recorded. So what is the body that takes care of the human rights violation? We have the Human Rights Commission. But that body itself do not have any kind of investigation wing. It has to again, for suppose one police station in the Hyderabad has violated. Now the NHRC has to go to the police station itself to do the investigation because NHRC do not have the investigation wing. So this body's power is crippled. This is a recommendatory body only, NHRC. It does not have any additional powers to enforce any kind of human rights violation. So see, every time that is there, whoever the person, whoever the institution, it has so much of the power, they can abuse the power. So that's why always there has to be checks and balances on the abuse of power. So we will see sometimes, if you can see, most of the times it is whoever is having the power, they will abuse it. Be it a male, be it any religion, community, okay, be it even female these days, whoever it is, okay, more power. So that's why there should be that balance. So there should be institutions to check the abuse and the misuse of power. And here I have given all those provisions. This can, if the question they have asked, discuss about the rising custodial violence in India, the complete answer is there, and this can be asked this year in the GS2 mains. It is there. So what are the reasons? Custodial violence, what kind of judicial interpretations are there? This is how you will answer the GS2 question. I have given the constitutional articles, I have given the judicial interpretations, judgments. This is the most important judgment, DK Basu. So I'll ask someday, what is the major judgment regarding the custodial violence? Then you have to say DK Basu versus State of the West Bengal. All the three are important. At least one you should be able to answer. This case talks about to prevent custodial things. Okay, they say keep the CCTV cameras in the police station. Okay, after evenings, women should not be they should not be taken to the custody. Okay, they should be, once I have taken to the custody, they have to be properly reported. Checks and balances are there, but most of the times it will be violated. Clear? Okay, see here. Indian police services are taken as a lead to lead the central armed police forces. You have general police. Police is a law and order, and police is a state subject. But in order to handle some of the central related law and order issues, okay, so that's why central armed forces are also there. Central armed police forces. These are a kind of comes something in between the state police and the army. Okay, something in between. And these police forces morale is always limited, because you will consider state police as one way in the state superior. In the central level, always it will be IAS officers, IPS officers. Even the central armed police forces like your CISF, the exam happens, CABF exam happens. So even this is a group A job, but still the lead, it is always taken from the IPS. So there is a lowering morale in these forces. So most of the times we see less number of times students writing the CAPF exam. They will prefer more writing the UPSC exam, though both of them civil services. Both of them are conducted same by the UPSC, but students will not that much prefer CAPF. The reason is, again, the heads are taken from the IPS. So this way, the morale of these forces is going down, and the promotions is also not well organized, and most of the times they are posted in the areas of border areas, or in the areas where the Naxal affected areas, or in the very difficult areas. So that's why the craze for these police forces is slightly lower. So the same thing, it is in the news because one of the IPS officer has been appointed despite the Supreme Court judgment, okay, to ruling to reduce the deputation of the Indian police service officers in the central armed police forces. So the same thing has been done. Okay, so what is the recent development? Despite the ruling, Home Ministry appointed 2016 batch IPS officer from Tripura cadre as a commandant in the SSB, Sahasra Rima Bal. Okay, so you need to be aware what are the issues in the central paramilitary forces. You got the clarity what is the central paramilitary forces. So you need to get that kind of visualization, where this thing, what is the topic that we are discussing. Okay, when this visualization is clear, when this arrangement in your mind is clear, things will become very, very easy for you. Going back home, first try to by heart the content whatever we are discussing. So for you, when we discuss something, you will not be able to generate points. Only when you by heart more, content starts coming out. Later on, you can reduce the by hearting. But first for me to put something, to put some words, I have to by heart. Okay, repeatedly just do that thing. By hearting is very, very important. Okay, so our Prime Minister visiting totally 5 countries. We have discussed this thing. So, Ghana, Argentina, Brazil. Then we have discussed those 2 Caribbean countries. Its capital is? What are those 2 countries? Cyprus. No. That was your 1 month lagging. Okay. Trinidad and Tobago we have discussed. Okay. The capital is Port of Spain. There the Prime Minister is saying, okay, so Indian diaspora, good number of diaspora is present there. Diaspora means Indian origin. Okay, NRI means you guys might go and work in the USA, Europe. So then you are considered as a Indian but non-resident. You are not living in India, you are living abroad. You are the citizen of India. Diaspora means they may not be citizens. They have connections. So during 18th and 19th century, British and various other people, they took Indians from the Bihar and other countries, okay, for the labor activity, to do plantation activities. From here they have taken to the Caribbean and all. So their ancestors, their forefathers, from there they have got settled. So that was the first kind of migration that has happened from the India. Okay, so migration. So majorly, primarily that has happened from the Bihar area. Okay, so we can find many people there. Okay, and they are called as a Grimitias. Grimitias, those migrant people are called as a Grimitias. And now these diaspora or citizens of Indian origin or NRA, they have played very good role even in the freedom struggle. Gandhiji was also settled person in the South Africa, but visited India, and he is the one who has led the freedom struggle. So in order to celebrate that thing during the re-entry of the Gandhi in India, so that day we take it as a kind of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Okay, so that day will be celebrated once in every 2 years. Okay, so Pravasi Bharat Divas, celebrated to mark the contribution of the overseas community. It is celebrated on the January 8th, 9th. So once in every 2 years. Okay, it is written each year, but I think it is 2 years, once in every 2 years. Overseas citizen of India, if for suppose you went to USA and you settle there, and once you settle there, you will also get the green card after 10-15 years. Later on, you have applied for the citizenship. Now you got the citizenship. You cannot hold the 2 citizenships. Only 1 citizenship is possible for the India. Okay, but you have applied for the overseas citizen of India. This is not a dual citizenship. You have got overseas citizenship India. Okay, that means you can enter into India without visa restrictions. You can also purchase properties. Some freedom is provided to you. Okay, but it is not meant as a citizenship. Okay, some extra amount of freedom is provided. That is called the overseas citizen of India. Okay, these are the very important features that you should know. Visa free travel, multiple entry, exemptions from the registration, parity with the NRIs, no voting rights, no dual citizenship, property ownership is allowed, but you cannot hold the agricultural land. Okay, so you need to remember. So when I ask features of the overseas citizenship of India, they can ask in the prelims, and you have to remember. So sometimes the content might also get heavy for you. Okay, sometimes there would not be much content for you to revise, but sometimes there would be very heavy depending on the articles we pick up. Okay, so revise those things again and again. Like when you study again these things in the polity, again geography and all, it will become very easy for you. Next, Nipah virus. See, it is one of the deadly virus. Okay. So generally, it is a zoonotic virus. When we say it is transferring from animal to the humans, this is called zoonotic virus. So because of the man and animal conflict, you are entering into the forest area. So different types of the viruses are existing in the different spaces within the animals, within the forest area, within the glaciers. So your contact with the animals are increasing. So you are getting exposed to various kinds of virus. Currently, there is no treatment, no vaccination. Whenever any virus attack happens to you, there is no treatment. That means you will not die. Over a period of time, you will recover. Okay, we will only address the symptoms. We have antibacteria. What is this? Antibiotics. You don't have antivirus. Okay, so generally, whenever virus comes, we will address those symptoms. So for suppose you got the fever, or suppose you got the headache. For those symptoms, you will take the medicine. For the virus itself, we will not be able to do anything. So there is no treatment, but this can be a very deadly disease. Okay, this is called zoonotic virus. Okay, it is primarily carried by the fruit bats. Remember, very important. Primarily carried by the fruit bats. Transmission through direct contact with the infected animals, especially bats and the pigs, or through the contaminated foods. Initial symptoms, okay, and then may progress to encephalitis. Diagnosis through RT-PCR test, polymerase chain reaction. We have discussed. So they will pick up your DNA, okay, and they will multiply it. RT means basically virus always they do not have the DNA, they will have the RNA. So from DNA, they will convert it to the RNA, and then they will amplify. Okay, so this is called reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. Every time PCR means, okay, so we are basically expanding it, multiplying the copies. So we will be able to understand this thing. So in the diagnosis, RT-PCR is used generally for the viruses. Okay, no vaccine. Currently, there is no vaccine available for the Nipah. So these outbreaks are happening. And again, Russia has used the chemical weapons against the Ukraine. So you should not use the chemical weapons. There is a convention for this. Chemical weapons convention. It was formally adopted in the 1992 and came into the force in the 1997. So it has almost 193 members. India is also member of this thing. And India's Organization for the Prohibition of the Chemical Weapons, which sees the implementation of the CWC, was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2013. Okay, so see here India's involvement. We have the National Authority for Chemical Weapons Convention is responsible for implementing the CWC. One of the India's Chemical Council has received the award as well. So you need to be very clear about the Chemical Weapons Convention. By heart it again. You need to be aware. Okay, so we have also discussed NPT, NSG. Okay, now this one. Now one border, three enemies. So this says it is not one enemy. So we have three enemies. Okay, who is the enemy that immediately we face the border threats? Pakistan. But we have discussed who is the one that is promoting the Pakistan. China is providing $10 billion and Pakistan is also getting support from the immediate support from the Turkey. Okay, so one country with the three enemies. So this is what we have realized. Okay, so we basically see why if any kind of war happens, even if it is 1 week and all, so it may cost 10 billion, 20 billion, this many dollars, and also it will stop the investment. If China have to grow, China don't have to attack India. So it can just say simply attack India, Pakistan, go. Okay, so this is going to cause problem. So that's why we have to do the investment in the technology. We should be in a position to answer challenges of both these three countries. Okay, so whenever I see Dalai Lama is also currently the person of the Tibet. He is in the India. Okay, every time so Tibet and the Taiwan is most sensitive to the China. So some chief minister has said, Dalai Lama, something he has said, we will decide who is the next Dalai Lama. Okay, so China said, it warns India, they should be careful about the usage of the words. China will do everything. Again, when the India says something, this kind of things happens. Okay, so cabinet minister has said something. So you need to just have an idea, understand those things. And one of the retired chief staff, he was saying, China is providing the defense equipments to the Pakistan and using this India and Pakistan conflict as a kind of lab. That testing those missiles, using the Pakistan. So they'll keep creating those kind of mini wars. So India has to be prepared to handle those things. So if you have to work on these things, so it should not be, the discussions should secularism be part of it? Should we include socialism? So these aspects, so the discussion should be going beyond those things. The discussion focus should be on environment, focus should be on health, focus should be on strengthening the defense things. So whenever we incorporate S-400, so it costed so much. So people will say, India is spending a lot on the defense and all, spending so much of the money. But it is very important. Like I have told you, even from the ethics perspective, you cannot talk about the peace without having power. The best chapter sometimes. For everyone. For most of the people. That's why India cannot talk about the peace if it does not have the power. So for that, in order to maintain the peace, in order to maintain peace in South Asia, so we need that powers. So that's why we invest heavily in the defense technologies as well. So this is about the discussion. I have clubbed various articles. I think we have covered lot of content that is relevant both for the prelims as well as the mains. Revise the content. If you revise the content, if you can show me the progress, I'll try to add little more value addition to this thing. So I'll try to provide you more questions, more practice. So something more I can do. But if you are struggling here itself, then it will be very difficult. Just go back home, spend at least half an hour. At least half an hour. All the discussion, all the time that you are putting here, if you go west, you will forget. If you don't revise for 30 minutes, trust me, you will forget everything. In 3 days, the content will become zero. Only immediately when you go back home, within the next 24 hours, if you don't revise, whatever content that you have learned, it will reduce it to the 50%. In the next 3 days, it will go to the zero. So why to waste time? You are already spending 1 hour. Just spend maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes is enough, 20 to 30 minutes. Later on, once in a week, in a Sunday, you revise all the week's content. Spend half an hour, 1 hour. It will be enough because you are revising on daily basis. It will not take much time. Later on in the month, again half an hour, 1 hour for the entire month's revision. You will feel empowered. You will feel you are having command on the current affairs. You will feel really so empowered. Okay, you will feel easily others are having the shallow knowledge because they are not revising it. If anything is question you ask, if any question is posed to you, you will be able to answer. Obviously, your confidence will increase. If you can go with that confidence in the prelims exam hall, definitely you will feel, if I do not know this question after doing 1 year of the proper preparation, that means obviously other person will not be knowing. So I should be fine. Okay, leave that question. There are various other questions which I am answering. So those questions are not causing any kind of problem for your clearing prelims exam. Okay, only those questions which are easy but you do not solve it right, those questions is causing problem to you. Difficult questions if you don't solve, no one is able to solve, that is fine, does not matter at all. But easy questions, they are asking simple things about the collegium, judicial review. You see last year, they have asked simply fiscal deficit, borrowing. Have asked this much of simple question. Now they will ask again the liquidity adjustment facility, all the time it is unused. If you miss these questions, then that means preparation is not serious. Okay, so that's how you have to fine tune and define your preparation. Okay, you give your best. I'll also give my best. Institution will also give its best. So we will collectively win. We all want to win. When you win, we will also win. Right? Thank you.